go.
Hi.
Hey.
How's it going?
I am very, very well, thanks. And yourself?
I'm fine. I'm good.
Awesome. So let's get started. Guys,
Yeah.
welcome to another session of interviews with entrepreneurs. And today we are chatting with Ashleigh Rennie, who is a master copyright sales pitch.
All the things, all the
Yeah, pretty
things.
much everything you'd need when it comes to copywriting, right? So today we're going to chat to her about creating copy that pops and opens wallets, right? So in other words, just gets you the sale, at the end of the day. So Ashleigh, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Things are good. It's raining in London. So that's bleak. But otherwise it's fine.
Oh, no, shame, man. You picked it,
Yeah,
eh?
yeah. It's that day. It's that day. We've had great weather though, so
Oh, that's
I'm not
fantastic.
complaining. Yeah.
So, first of all, tell us about your company now. Let's give some context as to what you're doing now, and then we're going to go back in terms of how you actually got there, and then we're going to talk about copy and
Cool.
that pops.
So I run the story team. That's my business. It's just me. It's me and my dog. We are the story team, and
I love
and the
that.
cat, but the cat's largely
Quiet,
uninterested.
silent partner.
Um, yeah. So I'm the story team, and I create copy for largely entrepreneurs, specifically women. And I work with women based all over the world. A lot of them are coaches, but some of them are, I work with a swimming instructor, and I work with a leadership coach, and I work with a monetization and business coach. And I write all their copy. So I write their sales pages, their websites, their social copy, their blogs, um, their emails. So a lot of direct response copy. And I've helped some of them to develop their brand voice. Others of them have been really clear about their brand voice going in, and we've worked to refine that and hone that. Um, but yeah, it's basically getting their copy out there, getting their message out there, and providing a lot of value to people, because that's what I believe in first.
Yes.
And then the sales will come after that. So that's basically what I do, and I completely love it. It's
It's
wonderful.
like kind of creating awareness and then, taking it from awareness through to consideration
Absolutely,
stages
yeah,
and that. Okay, so
absolutely.
tell us about, okay, this isn't what you've always been doing. So where do you come from, and what's your journey been as an entrepreneur to where you
You
are
know,
now?
the journey has been really interesting and completely terrifying, as I think a lot of entrepreneurs will
Absolutely.
feel. I moved to London in 2019 with my husband to, have a new experience, and to we'd lived in Joburg our whole lives, and we wanted to be in a different place and have an adventure. And so um, we both got jobs. I got a job, and we'd been here for about 8 months, and then the pandemic, you know, hit, and I lost my job. So that was terrifying, because you're in London. We came over here with our rands, which don't go very far, and we had rent to pay. And yeah, so I found I saw an advert actually on Facebook. There was a company here looking for care workers, because with the pandemic, the care working situation was quite dire, and
Yes.
they didn't have enough care workers. So I applied, and I got the job, and I trained, and within a month I was working as a care worker in London, going to people's houses, old people, and people who are infirm. And I was working as a care worker, and while it was very rewarding and beautiful, I just knew that that wasn't my calling, and that wasn't what I was meant to be doing. And I started I started my own business at the exact same time. So I'd always been a copywriter. I'd been writing.
So you've always you come from a copywriting background, right?
Absolutely. So I'd always been writing, for different companies, always freelancing, but working as a copywriter for about 10 years anyway. But I'd never considered starting my own business. That wasn't something that I'd ever thought about. And I just thought, well, I've got the skill. And I realized that there was a massive digital nomad community online, people running their businesses from all over the world that I could tap into. And I started this business in my car, basically, because I was working as a care worker throughout the day, moving from one person's house to the next throughout the day. And I would have a couple of hours off in between. And so that's how I built my business. In those hours off, I just worked on building this business. And it was really interesting. And
it's a huge learning curve, I would imagine.
Huge learning curve, because I learned, not just more about copywriting, but about business and how to market myself and how to talk to people and how to pitch
use
people.
Your own copy, the copy that
exactly. I had to write my own copy, which is the hardest thing in the world, to write copy for yourself.
I know, right?
So, like people who are out there watching and you've got to write copy to sell yourself. It was the hardest copy I've ever had to write. So yeah, that's the journey. And so now I have a handful of amazing clients all over the world. So my clients are based in America, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, and the UK. And they're amazing. And we work together every day. And I just completely love it. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, so it's been really onwards and upwards for you, especially I think also, with the pandemic, as bad as it has been for a lot of businesses. I think for many businesses, it has actually boosted a lot of businesses, especially in the online space, significantly. I mean, a lot of coaches, like you say, you obviously write copy for a lot of coaches and course creators and people like that. Is traditionally they've been face to face. In those kind of sessions. Now they've all gone online. And as soon as you go online, copy becomes even more important. It was important before, but it wasn't nearly as important as copy is now because of people's attention span. Do you find, that's one of the questions, right? There's people say, research says that you've got 3 seconds to draw the
grab people. Yeah.
So, that's basically 3 seconds to read that headline that you've put in there. That whole
and that's got to grab them, right?
Otherwise, they ain't going to be scrolling. Do you find that that's actually accurate?
Yes, it is accurate. Even, just as a consumer of copy, I see a headline and I'm either grabbed or I'm not grabbed. And so absolutely, like the headline, when I write copy, the headline is the most important piece of copy on the page, no matter what it is, whether it's a website or a sales page or whatever. And in an email, I guess your headline would be your subject line. So, it goes across the board. The headline is the most important thing.
Yeah. It's the hook at the end of the day.
And it's often the very last piece that I write. I will write the whole page or website or whatever first and really, along with the client, get to grips with what it is we're selling and the meat of this thing and the major benefits of what it is we're doing here, and that makes the headline. It's huge. And often I'll sometimes provide 3 options, to a client, like different options and different things that they can potentially use, because the headline is just so important. Absolutely.
So let's just give some context in terms of sales copy, because a lot of people that are watching now and on Facebook, and I'm going to watch the replays, is people think sales copy, they immediately think, oh no, but that's something that coaches and mentors and course creators use. I run an e-commerce store. That's one of the big questions that I get is, I run an e-commerce store, why do I need copy? And my response to that is, you need it more than I do. But what's your view on copy for e-commerce stores?
you know, it, it's copy. Great copy is sales. It's, you know, but it's sales in a really persuasive, benefit driven way. And when your customer, you know, sees your products and you know, that glance on Facebook or Instagram or you know, wherever, you know, the advert that pops up wherever they may be, you know, scrolling or whatever, the that copy has to speak to them inside their, you know, spleen. Yeah, like right inside of themselves, you know. And so anyone who thinks that they don't need copy or copy isn't important, or I mean, it's everything. It's absolutely everything. It's the very first, you know, along with your graphics, it's the very first impression that potentially that someone is going to get of your business, and it has to speak to them. It's so
I think it's, you know, as someone that buys, I buy a lot online. I spend quite a lot of money online buying stuff, and nothing frustrates me more. I get to a product and it's just got a whole lot of you know, like size, you know, it's this size, this much. It's like, what does this do? How's this going to benefit me? How's this going to solve the problem that I've got, whether I'm buying a light or a webcam or a laptop? I mean, what exactly, you know, is this going to help me with, you know?
Exactly. And so for e-commerce stores, I think that a lot of people focus too much on the features and, you know, like you say, the size or the specs or whatever, but it's actually the benefit that, like, benefit driven copy is the thing that sells. So what is this thing going to do for your customer? Is it going to give them a better night's sleep, or is it going to increase their revenue, or is it, you know, even increasing revenue is too vague. You know, what is that increase in revenue going to do? Like it's gonna let you go on that cruise you've wanted to go on for 5 years, or it's going to let you have that amazing wedding anniversary with your partner, and you're going to be able to splurge on a beautiful dinner and bottle of wine. Do you know what I mean? Like those things that people understand, like that's the stuff that people engage with.
True. We actually we ran a test beginning of the year with a client of mine, and you know, she was very anti wanting to use copy, you know, specific sales copy. I said, listen, I'm going to put it in. I'm only going to pick 3 of your products. I'm going to put them in there. You know, I'm going to get someone put together this awesome copy, and we're going to throw it in there, and let's see what your conversions are. And if you lose sales, you know, I'll pay you out of my own pocket. I said, I'll pay out of my own pocket any loss of sales that you get, you know, kind of thing. And she was about like a 2.1 conversion rate, 2.1 conversion rate on average. We went to 9.6 conversion rate in 30 days. And that only thing changed was the copy. Not the pictures didn't change. It's still the same pictures. The headline changed. The copy changed, right? Why? Because we're now focused purely on benefits. So I think, you know, what you do has got so much more value out there that people don't realize it. They tend to kind of associate copywriting with, but you know, if I need a blog writ, that was the first one. Because we actually, do you need a blog writ? That's
no. And so this is really interesting, because I was just thinking about that as you were speaking, and I think a lot of people confuse content with copy. So yes, I write blogs for people, but blogs are not copy. They can have elements of copy in them, but blogs are content. And so I think a lot of people think that copy means lots of words, and in fact, the most powerful copy is like minimal words. That is powerful copy. You know, there's this amazing woman, Joanna Weeb. She is like I don't know if you've heard of her, but she is like the conversion copy queen, right? And so she has a program that you can do called Copy School. And the headline for that sales page is Imposter Syndrome Hates Copy School. And like the second I read that, I was like, oh my God. And I had to read the rest of the sales page because I was so captured by that headline. You know, we all know what imposter syndrome is. We all know what it feels like. And I thought it was so clever, and so like it absolutely spoke to me and my, what I need and what I crave. And really great copy does that. But I can tell you, they probably sat for days working out that headline, and it's 5 words and it's super powerful.
I think that's what people don't realize, the amount of research and work that actually goes into creating the headlines and the copy and that. But let's take a step back. So I think it's important that people differentiate between, content, writing a blog or something like that, and copy and that. What we're talking about here is specifically actually sales copy, at the end of the day. Because I get a lot of people, oh, can you write some, do you know someone that can write some copy for us? I need this blog written. I'm like, that's content, that's we've got to separate that. But I think it's, the words are used so loosely these days by so many experts, and that it tends to, the lines get blurred quite a lot. So let's talk about copy, right? We want copy that pops. So what are the components that you put together to try and make copy that pops?
So for me, I think it's about benefits, like more than anything, like, finding out exactly what your ideal customer wants and needs and craves and desires. And by that, I mean, emotionally, what are they looking for? Are they looking for something that affirms them? Are they looking for something that takes away their fears? Are they looking for something that makes them feel excited or wealthy or whatever it is? You've got to try and pinpoint what it is that your ideal client wants, because copy is about your client. It's not about you, and it's not about what you offer. It's about what your client wants.
Perception. It's about their perception
of
reality.
Exactly.
So it's not necessarily reality. It's the perception of it.
Yeah. So it's absolutely about what your client is experiencing, what they're looking for, what they're craving, and then writing copy that speaks to that. So emotional copy can pop, like, does it speak to their emotions? But also creating copy that it's really complicated, but it's about creating copy that is about your brand voice and what you want your brand voice to elicit from your ideal clients. So while it's not about you and it's not about what you are thinking, it's absolutely about your personality and the way you're going to make your client feel, if that makes sense.
That's actually quite true, because I had copy on one of my sales pages, and the comments I got back from it was, oh, Dennis, that is so cocky, it's so you, because I was like, I put in the headline and said, don't donate your left kidney to learn Facebook ads. There was something very simple, and it was just, I literally dumped it on in there. I mean, it got huge conversions in that, but people were commenting and saying, oh, that's so you, to say something like that. And I think, and I'm using that as an example for those that are going to be watching, is like, you got to try and put your personality in your headline too. So does humor and stuff work in headlines?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I'm the kind of writer, I love humor. I love rocking the boat a little bit.
So sarcasm and
absolutely, and not in an offensive way. I don't do it just for the sake of it. Like, I want it to be clever, and for some clients that's not going to work. So like, I have a client who's a leadership coach. She is really straight down the line. She said to me, she doesn't want the copy to be too sassy. She doesn't, because I write like, a lot of my clients.
Cheeky.
It's cheeky and it's sassy and it works for some of them, but she is just like, nope, that is not me. And so, I've just written her website and a sales page, and it's really just about the benefits. Like, when you lead with intention, you create an organization where people prosper and grow. And so it's also about who your client is. Are they going to appreciate that? And if they're not, we don't do it. But if your clients are people who are sassy and cheeky and who appreciate that and who sort of live on the wild side a little bit, then absolutely bring that into your copy.
But don't you think, I mean, if you go put in something sassy, right? I mean, you're going to attract the sassy kind of people that are like people that you want. So you're kind of eliminating the people that, not necessarily in your line. So, I mean, the headline, that hook that you're using can essentially be used to almost filter out your ideal audience, finding the kind of people you really want to be working with in that, because let's face it, they're going to be watching your videos or they're going to be buying a product or dealing with you in some way or form, and you're going to be sassy and cheeky then. And, and if they don't like it in the headline, they're sure as hell not going to like it in a video or a course or a product they're going to buy from you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, part of the work that I do and part of my business is about working with people that are your people. And this isn't for everyone, and I appreciate that, but for me, I want to work with people that I can vibe with, that believe in the same things as me, that we have the same ethics, we have the same vision. And so in the copy for my own business, I'm quite strategic, because I just know that, for example, I'm a feminist, and that's part of my vibe, and that's part of my website, and I'm very vocal about that in my copy. And it absolutely will put a lot of people off, and that's good, because those are the people I don't want to work with. So that's part of brand voice, and creating a brand voice that attracts the kinds of people you do want to work with.
Awesome. So you've got a question here. My business is health products. Over and above writing the benefits copy, is it imperative to include the ingredients and percentages, etc.? I've got an answer for that, but I'll let you.
I think that if you can weave benefits into those ingredients and percentages, then absolutely. I think that if you're selling health products, you're already attracting a certain type of person who wants to get something out of what it is that you're selling. So they're looking for a particular lifestyle, they're looking for a particular goal, and I think that including ingredients and percentages would be important in copy, because I think already your client is looking for that kind of thing, and I think a really good copywriter could weave that could even weave that into a headline, a particular ingredient or percentage that your client is looking for, or balance of something, or whatever.
So I think if it's part of the main benefits, sure. I think from another perspective as well, I mean, there's obviously the legality if you're dealing with health products and stuff. All you have is a separate tab, which is specifications, right? And that's only at the bottom of the screen. And there you can put in your weight, and I've got 3% of this unpronounceable medical word, or whatever, or 5 grams or whatever it is. You can put that stuff at the bottom there for the people that need it there, and obviously for compliance purposes. But I agree with Ashleigh, is if you can weave it, the main one in there, like for instance, silicone free, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that, then yes, weave it into your benefits, I think. Right?
There's also, it depends what the copy is for. So if your copy is for a sales page or a home page on a website, there's, the prime real estate you want to use there is your headline, obviously, but then you also have a sub headline that you can elaborate with. So, for example, your headline could be join the 2% club or whatever. And then your byline or your sub headline could be 2% of, I don't know, God, I'm thinking on the spot now. But
unpronounceable,
but like 2% of the fittest people in the world, or 2% of 2% fat in your whatever, I don't know, whatever it is that you're selling. But like you have that sub headline as well that you can use. That's really powerful. And of course your image, whatever your image. So your designer and your copywriter ideally should be working together, and they should be working together to create one very cohesive message.
100%, because I think that's quite important, especially, you're saying the creative and the copy working together, because I see a lot of people, they put up like product photos and they just plain standalone, white background kind of photos, which tend to not really work that well. Whereas if you created a lifestyle kind of thing that talks to the benefits that you're putting in, let's say you're advertising a bicycle, right? And you're showing a person riding on the bicycle, saying, awesome mountain bike, blah, blah, blah. You're putting in the benefits, but there's this guy going up the mountain with a bike. It talks to each other as opposed to having a bike there on a white background. They complement each other at the end
definitely
of the day.
Yeah,
a lot of people neglect the benefit of lifestyle photos. And what we tend to not understand is, we're used to walking into a shop and looking at a bicycle as an example, and we're looking at it, we're feeling it, we're sitting on it, we're hopefully not licking it to taste it, but we might have a few people that do that. But anyway, people are experiencing it. They're using their sensors on it. Right now, when they're online, they don't. They've got that visual look. They're looking at it. And in the copy needs to come across with that, almost make them feel as if they're feeling it and riding it.
Exactly.
Kind of thing, exactly. Try to get that message across. Like, I'm going to be tired after this. Maybe I shouldn't buy it.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you're using, just to go back to this example of the health products, if you are, as you say, like, how is this product going to make me feel? And if you can weave in, it has this particular ingredient or whatever, and it's going to make you sleep better, or it'll alleviate anxiety, or that knot in your stomach, you use emotive words, and then try and weave the more factual stuff in with that. But I would always go with emotion over anything.
Because the emotional people that buy are 80% of your buyers.
Exactly. And you're talking to people. Your copy is talking to people. It's not talking to business, or, it's talking to human beings. That's what good copy does. And so in the creative process, how you get this to work, just to go back to that idea of the designer and the copywriter working together, that's why the briefing process is so important, because, I will sit with a client for like an hour before I even start writing and say, okay, what are the benefits? What does this product do? Why is it important? What are your competitors doing? What are your competitors saying? What do your testimonials say? Because testimonials are sometimes the best copy you can get, is in your testimonials. Or what are people writing on your Facebook page about their pain points? Like, what are they struggling with? That's a great resource for copy. And then, ideally, you want to try and just have a brief conversation with the designer, the graphic designer, to make sure you're both on the same page, and create something from that, So the briefing process is vital. It's so important.
And I think also the research, right? Because I think a lot of people underestimate what actually goes into this. It's like you said, it's understanding all of those things, but I think there's even additional components. It's going on to even Facebook groups. I'm using one example. What are people talking about? Doing health products as an example. What are people actually worried about? Is it fitness, or is it anxiety? Is it depression? How do they word it in their way, so that when you write it, you're not using some kind of language that they're not using in the groups? You want to kind of speak to them straight away.
Absolutely. Because people don't say, they might say, I'm so depressed, but they're much more likely to say, I have this knot of wool in my stomach. Or they'll say, if it's a sleep thing, they'll say, I was up at 3 a.m. again last night reading the latest whatever,
Yeah.
Dan Brown or whatever it is. So they're using language that is incredibly it's a gut punch. And so that's the language you want to be using in your copy, is sort of gut punch language.
100%. And let's talk about modeling others, right? So,
Yes.
I mean, that's something that, I've always recommended
yes.
In terms of looking at what competitors are doing. And I mean, one of the hacks that I've used is, you go onto Facebook, look at the ads that are running, competitors' ads that are running, for your business. Go look at their ads and look at the ads that have been running for a couple of months, not the one that's been running for 2 weeks, because they're improving. Look at those that are running for a couple of months. Look at the creative they're using, look at the copy they're using,
Yeah.
And kind of not copy that, but look at how they're putting it out there. And what I tend to always see, those that are really successful, and I'm talking about modeling companies that are 2 years ahead of you, so you can kind of get that kind of feeling. What I always find with those is it's always short to the point kind of copy. It's not these, some of these ads that people see, that I see, it's like I'm literally scrolling like 3 pages to go through. I don't read it. My ADHD doesn't allow me to.
No, I don't read it either.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Facebook ads specifically are super, super complicated. What's really cool about Facebook ads is that you can run test versions. So you can run a much shorter Facebook ad, and then you can run a longer one and see which ones work. But in terms of modeling, I am all for, looking at copy that's really working. I copy that grabs my attention. I always make a record of, or I write it down. I go back to it, I refer to it, and then I try and create stuff that's similar or uses a similar technique, because that stuff is working, So swipe files are absolutely allowed. Like if you're a copywriter, or even you're not a copywriter, and you see stuff, an email that you go, geez, this is a great email. Like, it's well written, it grabbed my attention, it's funny, or it's poignant, or it moved me, or any email that you get, or any sales page that you see that makes you want to buy what they're selling, that copy is gold. And so, copy it, paste it, don't use it, because that's illegal, but but learn from that. Learn from it. Exactly. And go, what did they do here? How did they craft this? What are they doing in terms of like their strategy and their technique? What are their benefits? Where are their calls to action? Where have they put their calls to action? Like all of that stuff is great to learn from and work from. And using swipe files, I highly recommend that. Highly.
When you say swipe files, explain that to everyone.
So saving emails that you've received that work for you, just putting them in a folder, or creating I don't know, some sort of folder on your laptop where you can just download stuff that really worked for you. Those are swipe files for me.
Yeah. Guys, what I basically do is I create little sticky notes on my desktop. Yeah. And that I've got a folder, and I literally, as I see things, I'm like, I'm going to copy, and I literally copy it on the screen, paste it in there, and I throw it in there, and it's my little file for, awesome copy, kind of thing. And when I need inspiration, I go back to that kind of thing, and I look at that, and I'm like, okay, well, what works, what doesn't. Yeah. So I want to talk about structure, but before I do that, we've got another question here.
Yes.
Is how does one approach copy for children's clothing? Does one go more for the value side or more for the fun, for lack of a better word? I do put all the features of the item in the description, but I'm not sure if that's the right way to go.
So again, like, there are no rules. What does your client want? That's what you have to put in your copy. So your client is not the child. Your client is the parent who's buying the clothing for the child. and what are they looking for? And so, you know, one of the things you have to do when you create copy is you have to do market research, and there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. So one of the ways you can do that is you can literally, if you have a Facebook group or a Facebook page, you put out on your Facebook page, parents, what do you look for in children's clothing? Like, what makes you buy children's clothing? Is it you know, durability? Is it easy to clean? Is it the fun factor? Is it the style? And you will find that different kinds of people are looking for different kinds of children's clothing. So you'll probably find more affluent people are looking for, I don't know, stuff that's more chic and more, you know, I don't know, designer, maybe. I don't want to generalize, but that's a possibility.
Well, of course,
and people, you know, people who don't have a huge amount of expendable income are looking for clothing that will last, that the child can wear over and over again without it falling apart. They don't really care about, you know, the kid coming to school looking like David Beckham. They want the kid to come to school and, you know, those trousers not to rip when the kid's in the sandpits and climbing and doing whatever it is they do. So you have to find out what it is the buyer wants. So yeah, put out a question in your circle, in your community, like, what are you looking for? Send a message to your friends who are parents, like create a WhatsApp and say, if
or
you
even go to parents groups and
exactly
ask the question and say, guys, what are you looking for? And what I recommend is don't use a poll, just ask what you're
don't use a poll. Or you can use a poll, like use a poll 1 week and the next week don't use a poll. But market research is hard because social media is overwhelmed and people are, you know, they are absolutely flooded with these questions. So you've also got to create the question in a really smart way. And that is in itself copy, right? Because you want a response. So you can create a cool little thing like about a kid who went to school and wore a pair of trousers. So, okay, here's a great example. I went to Bounce one year with my nephew. I bought him, that was his Christmas present. It was a Bounce voucher. And we went to Bounce, and halfway through the Bounce session, his trousers ripped literally in half at his groin. And he's a kid that is super he's quite shy. He doesn't want to be stared at. He doesn't like, you know, he was absolutely horrified, right? And so you could write a post in WhatsApp or on Facebook or in a message or whatever on Instagram saying, went to Bounce, my kid's trousers ripped in half, major drama. What are you looking for in the perfect pair of trousers for a 7-year-old? And, you know, like, so get people to respond initially with a little story, because that, you know, the stories are hugely powerful. And then ask the question and make it short and snappy and see what people say, you know.
Don't do 2-3 paragraphs.
No.
You want 1 paragraph total, and when I say 1 paragraph, it's like 2 or 3 sentences max.
And then say, you know, and then you'll figure out, Rose, who asked the question, you know, whether people are looking for value for money, or they're looking for just fun, or they're looking to show, you know, I have a friend who's got a daughter who's super brave in her wardrobe. You know, she wears, I mean, she's 10 and she wears like leopard print tops with like a pink tutu, you know. So for that parent, it's about identity and it's about expression. So I would really go and find out what it is your customer wants, and then use that for the product description or the website or whatever it is, the email that you're writing. 100%. I hope that answers the question.
And I think the second part of the question, do I put all the features on of the item in the description? I think there again, it relates to what we were previously speaking about, the core features like durable pants, you know, durability. If that's a feature, then, you know, put that in. But otherwise, again, list them like you would specifications. You understand later on. your benefits need to be upfront. And if you can incorporate some of those, like Ashleigh was saying, incorporate those features into your benefits, then great, but only focus on those. And what I'm taking away from that message you gave was only focus on those that your customers are really interested in, not necessarily everything. So you might have 10 features, but only 3 of them really are your core features. If you can incorporate those, go for those. That is what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. And it also depends, people must remember, so this is a description, and I'm not sure, Rose, if you're talking about a description on a website. So I think that you've also got to remember the user experience of a website and where your ideal customer is landing. So if your ideal customer is landing on your homepage, that is all about benefits, because what you want to happen from that homepage is for them to click through to the menu of what it is you're selling, or a particular item. So, it depends on where you are, where your customer is in their journey on your website. And that's 100%. I think a lot of people forget about that. If people are immediately landing on a description, so you've created an advert for a child's dress, say a dress on Facebook, and the link takes them straight to that item on your website, then the features are probably going to be quite important, because people have already seen what it is they want to see in terms of this product, and now they're interested and they want to find out more. So then, yes, you can make it maybe more features driven. But if you're creating copy for the adverts on Facebook about the dress, then you want that copy to be more benefits driven. So it depends where your client is in their
and also
journey.
Their behavior.
Yeah.
Because not everyone reads the copy on your ad. So they're going to look at, oh, that's pretty, I'm going to click through.
Exactly.
So there still needs to be some kind of benefit there for them as well. So
exactly.
It all depends on your research, as Ashleigh saying, as to who your customers and what their behaviors and journey is at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about structure. The first question I have is long form or short form? When we look at, and I mean, this is predominant on, you obviously find them on e-commerce stores too, a lot of good e-commerce stores, but funnels as well. I mean, what works better? Is it the long form or the short form? Now, I mean, there's obviously a debate on those. I've tried both. Honestly, they're both the same.
And so tech is so advanced now that, if you're hosting a landing, let's talk about a landing page, say. If you're hosting a landing page for a product or a service, you can most likely, like if you're using WordPress or whatever, you can create 2 versions. And so you can create a long version, and then you can create a shorter version and see which one converts better. I don't know. I'm not sure that one is better than another. I think that short form can be incredibly beneficial because it's as it suggests, it's short, it's punchy, it's to the point. A lot of people don't have the time to spend 10 minutes reading a sales page, which sometimes sales pages are really long and can take 10 minutes. So create a really short sales page and gives them the key benefits, the main ideas, the really important points. And then if they're interested, create a call to action button, then they can click through and they'll land on a longer page, and then they can read,
I think where it becomes quite important is it depends on, I think, one, the value of your item. If you're selling a $47, toy versus $1,000, let's say, course or something along those lines. I mean, I think people need to look at those differences and say, okay, well, if you're going to do the course, I would imagine you would need a lot longer thing, because you're going to go through benefits, you're going to go through features, what is included, a whole lot of different references, etc. There's a whole lot of different things. Whereas if you're just selling, let's say a phone cover or whatever the case is, at the end of the day, you don't need that. That's where short form works better. So again, and that was actually a question from someone, but Yeah, I think it really depends on where, you know, what kind of
I think it
product
depends on what you're selling, what the cost is, again, who your client is, you know,
So
there's
what you're saying is research.
yeah, I mean, it's all about the
100%.
research. Yeah, and so this is, and so, you know, let's briefly talk about what copywriters charge. And a lot of people will sort of look at a copywriter's fee and be like, what the hell, that's crazy. But that final product that you're getting, you know, that, you know, those 5 words in your headline, that comes out of hours and hours and hours of research.
People don't understand that.
They don't understand that. And so, you know, you're not just paying for the words, you're paying for all of that research. And you know, a really good copywriter is going to do a ton of research into your business, your clients, what your clients want, what they need, your competitors, what your competitors are saying, what they're offering, what they're not offering, what the market wants. Like, I mean, it's huge, you know. Even just this conversation we're having, I imagine can make people feel like, geez, this is a lot to take on. But that's your copywriter's job, is to take all of that on and do the research and filter out the stuff that works and doesn't work, and mold something amazing. That's what they do.
I think you kind of hit it on there, is finding what works and what doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Because this is a iterative process, right?
Yeah.
Is you're going to try something, you're going to put something up and see, listen, are our conversions increasing, you know, are the landing page views increasing, or whatever the case is, click-throughs increasing, or whatever the case. No, it's not. Okay, let's try something else, you know, let's swap them out, let's do A/B testing, or whatever the case is on your website page, you know. Let's try the one long form, short form, one with a cocky message, one with a professional message, you know, one with video, one without video. You understand? I think it's all about this, a constant kind of testing until you find that sweet spot that actually works for you as a client at the end of the day. But this is where your copywriter and, you know, your creative person needs to work together to actually create that synergy at the end of the day. Because I see a lot of disconnect between, you know, graphic and copy. It's just like, you know, and I look at it sometimes and I'm like, oh, man, come on, guys, you know.
I know.
It's like you want to cry.
I know.
But maybe it's because we browse too much. I mean, you and I are a bit biased from that perspective because we deal with that all the time. So
yeah, and I also just think it's really important because sometimes the client doesn't know this stuff, and it's really important that the service providers are on top of that stuff, you know. So it's really important that your graphic designer and your copywriter understand that they need to speak to each other, and they need to be creating, you know, 2 separate things that will work together, you know. So yeah, it's tricky. It's super tricky, but when it works, it's like magic, you know.
So Lavona was asking for an example of graphic versus copy
versus graphic. So your copy is any words on a page, or on a website, or on a Facebook ad, and your graphic is the picture. But the graphic can have copy within it. So if you have a picture, like, let's take Dennis's example of, you know, a guy, what I mean is to elaborate how you bring the 2 together. I mean, I think if we do take that example of the bike, right?
Yes.
Say we're advertising a bike, and we have someone, a man or a woman, cycling up a hill, up a mountainside. You want the copy to have something to do with that image. So the copy can be about the benefits of rigorous exercise. The copy can be about pushing yourself, uphill
Pushing your
battles,
limits,
pushing to limits. But if the copy is about the color of the bike, then we have a problem, because then there's no connection between the two. And if the copy is about, so say we have, an ad that's about, you want it to be about the bike, but your copy is about, I'm being super basic now, but the copy is about what your cyclist is wearing. Then, do you know what I mean? The copy has to,
Yeah, you can't take it. So if you have that image with the guy on the bike, right, and your copy is about what he's wearing, people's eye isn't going to be drawn to what he's wearing. It's going to be drawn to the bike first, right?
Exactly.
You're always drawn to the movable object before the static object, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
So you have to be careful there. Rather have the guy standing in front of the bike with an outfit on.
Yes.
You have to be talking about the clothing at the
end. And a lot of copywriters, and I'm sure graphic designers will disagree, a lot of copywriters will say that the copy is always more important than the graphic. And the graphic designer will probably always say that the image is more important than the copy. But the point is that the two of them have to work together. The two of them have to support one another. So if there's a disconnect between them, it's going to confuse your consumer. And then your consumer is just going to move on, because they're going to be like, I don't understand. So I'm sure there's a ton of people who've seen an advert and they're like, I don't understand this ad. And that's probably because, the design, the graphic and the image are not connected. Like they don't understand either what's being advertised, or they don't understand how the two relate to one another, or there's just something about it where they go, this feels weird or
wrong.
I
always say to people, imagine watching a movie and you're watching a clip, right? And you're watching what's happening on the screen, but the voices that come through is something completely different.
Yes.
That's when it's not, it needs to be a lot. It's like, take let's say a moisturizer, right? Vanilla scented moisturizer. If you had a bottle, even if it's on a white background, a bottle there with a piece of vanilla next to it, right? You can now talk about vanilla scented, moisturizer at the end of the day. But it just needs to speak to each other. Because remember, your graphic's going to pull the person in. The graphic and your headline is what pulls the person in. They're either going to read the headline or they're going to see the graphic first, right? It's
exactly.
The graphic first, whichever one. So if they want to see the graphic first, the next thing they're going to see is the headline, and then they're going to read the copy. If it's a headline first, then it's graphic, and then it's copy. So it's always those. It's always in that sequence. So you've got to make sure those things are aligned and talking to each other. Absolutely.
I hope that answers the question. It's complicated and it's tricky, and also I'm not a graphic designer, so and that's something else that clients sometimes are just like, they don't understand. Like they say, okay, but what is it going to look like? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm your copywriter. I need to speak to your graphic designer, and then we can come up with a plan. So the point is that the two have to work together. It's like a symbiotic sort of relationship, and the two are feeding off one another and working together. And when that happens, it's really, really powerful. And so, are we allowed to product mention on this series? I was actually talking about this at the weekend with some friends. I don't know if you remember that ad about the Mercedes and the BMW.
Oh, do you remember that advert? Brilliant.
so for anyone watching, if you don't know, there was a really incredible ad campaign that BMW did. So basically, I think what happened was, my husband was telling me that someone had been in a really terrible accident on Chapman's Peak in Cape Town, and the Merc had basically gone over, and the driver had off the side of the mountain, and the driver had survived. And Merc ran a campaign about how incredible their cars are and how strong and resilient, because this person had survived this terrible, terrible accident. And BMW, I think they came out with this ad on a Friday, because in South Africa, you're not allowed to do this. But So on Friday night, they launched this ad that ran over the weekend and then was cancelled on Monday. But basically, BMW literally had just the image of this car going around Chapman's Peak, and then the copy said, we beat the Benz, BENDS.
Yeah.
and so, saying that the BMW, it's brilliant. So the BMW would never ever go off the edge of the mountain in the first place. But without that image, that copy wouldn't make any sense. And without the copy, the image wouldn't make any sense. So that is just the perfect example of a really clever relationship between the image and the copy, so yeah, it's just when it works like that, it's just like, whoa, like, and I'm sure people saw that ad and they just like the emotion they must have felt, either complete rage or just like, whoa, that is amazing advertising, or wow, that's inappropriate, or whatever they felt. BMW.
Everyone remembered it.
Everyone remembers that
from
ad.
A branding perspective, whether they liked it or disliked it or agreed or disagreed, everyone remembered that.
Yeah.
And that was what they wanted to get across. It wasn't about sales. That was about pure branding.
Totally. And that ad ran probably for like a total of maybe just over 48 hours.
Yeah.
And it's still remembered. So it was just completely brilliant. So yeah, that's just one example of how the two work together.
So before we close off, let's quickly cover in terms of structure and that, so people better understand. What we're talking about is you've got a hook, and you mentioned some subtext that you can use. Then you've got you've got image. Then you've got your copy, which is your story, all right? And then you've got your offer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty much.
That's kind of like the structure, everyone, so that everyone understands that. That's kind of like the sequence that it normally works, and works quite well.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people, I've seen some copy, someone sent me the other day, and their story was right at the top and the headline was halfway down the middle. And I was like, no. I literally scrolled till I got the headline, then saw what the headline was, then scrolled back up to start reading. It was like, okay, well, you got to structure it properly, use your real estate carefully.
Exactly. And so, if you don't know the terms, it's really great to understand that, when you look at a website or a sales page or whatever it is, at the bottom of your screen, once you hit the bottom of the screen, there's a whole bunch of copy or text underneath that you can't see. So the stuff above that has to make you want to scroll down to see the rest of it. So, that's called the fold. In a newspaper, the fold is an actual fold in the page, but on your laptop screen, the fold is the bottom of your screen. And so that top part of your screen is your prime real estate that you want to use like for maximum effect. So your headline and your main image and your sub headline ideally want to be there. And then underneath that, so below the fold, then you'll put all of your other benefits, and you can address pain points, and you can address objections if you want to, and all of that stuff. And you can bring in some features depending on how long you want your actual copy to be. But yeah, structure, absolutely. Headline, headline, and then underneath that, the body and calls to action as well are really important, especially if you have a long page.
You want multiple call to action.
Multiple calls to action, not one at the very bottom. You want like a few, which are buttons that people can click on, and so if they've read enough, they go, "Yep, I want this," and they can click without having to scroll all the way down to the bottom.
Predominant, not the underlined text, the hyperlink text or anything like that. People don't see that, because especially if they're speed reading in there, they're not going to see. They're not going to see that. They want a big red button or whatever.
Big button, big box, bold, bright color, whatever brand color, whatever it is, so that they can click into that and then give you their money. That's basically what you want, right? You want their cash, the cashola.
There you go. So, I mean, I was also going to chat to you a bit about, your story in terms of your business, etc. You've given us some highlights there, but where to next for the story team? What's the future?
Isn't that the question?
What's the plan?
I actually I'm about to start so I've got two things on the go. One is for me personally. So I'm about to create a thought leadership speech because I really want to start speaking to more women about their brand voice and being unapologetic with their brand voice, because I think my ideal clients are women, and they're women sort of like me who have been silenced a lot and who are now finding their voices and finding themselves and stepping into that and weaving their brand voice into their business and weaving their voice into their business. So I'm creating a signature talk about that, and I'm hoping to deliver that to, at summits and at, conferences and that kind of thing. So that's for me, and I'm really excited about that. I'm working with a coach to do that. And then I've also got a new offering where I create a quiz for businesses as a lead magnet, because people love quizzes. They just absolutely like, how many quizzes have you completed on Facebook and online and then shared with all your friends, and like, who are you in Star Wars, or, like which 80s band are you, or whatever, so I've started to create quizzes for businesses, which are really great in terms of lead generation and email list building. It's been amazing for my business. So that's something that I'm doing, which I really, really love, because quizzes create huge value in the results when you deliver that little gift to your quiz taker. You can create tons of value for them and really establish yourself as an expert in your niche and in your industry just with the quiz results. So that's something that I'm offering at the moment, and it's great. People love it. So that's where we're at. And I just want to work with more people who are running businesses that are important for the world, and I really believe in creating value for other people, and I believe in authenticity, and I believe in trying to just make the world a little bit better. That's really my jam. So
awesome.
That's where we're at.
So what's that one thing that you feel that you needed to change within yourself to get to where you are today?
When I started my business and I was pitching clients, I would write really, really professional, business-like pitches, because that's what I was taught at school.
Yeah, exactly.
To whom it may concern, my name is Ashleigh and I'm a copywriter, and I've been working in this business for X amount of years and all of that stuff. Now I write pitches that are me, that are literally like, hey, I'm Ashleigh. It's raining in London today. It's totally bleak. I run a copywriting business and your business looks totally like thebomb.com, and I want to write with you guys, and I think you're amazing. Like I just try and be
I love that. I do the same.
Like as much of me as I can, as I think I'm a little bit quirky and a little bit loud, and I swear a lot. I don't swear in my pitches, but like, that's the thing, right? And so I try and pitch clients in a way that I would talk to them if I just met my mates for coffee. And
being authentically you at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I've got more business like that than I ever got with the super formal, corporate-y type things. And if people don't like that approach, then they're not going to hire me, and that's cool, because they're not my people. So
I think it's a message that has come across quite a lot in all of these interviews that we've done. And one thing is always being authentically you. Is be authentic. Don't try and follow what you were taught in school. That's the old stuff in terms of write the message like you want to write it, like you would speak to a person. Do it that way.
Yeah.
You need to do a voice note, freaking hell, do it. But do not, dear sir, as soon as I get an email or message like that, I don't even read it, the rest.
Me neither.
Me
neither.
Dismiss that. So before we part, is 1 to 3 lessons that you would like to give other entrepreneurs watching that can I want lessons that I want people to leave here to say, hell yeah, I can do this too. If Ashleigh can do this, I can do this too. So what are those 1 to 3 lessons? It doesn't matter, 1, 2, 3.
I have a few things that I've done to grow my business, which have been really, really successful. And I think every entrepreneur, particularly those who are starting out or who've been in business for a couple of years, are always trying to up-level their clients, and they're trying to get in business that pays more. So I've done a few like super concrete things that I think are really helpful. So the first thing that I've done is I've subscribed to the lists, or I've subscribed to the people who are super successful, right? And when I get their weekly emails, not all the time, but if they speak to me, I will reply to them. And a lot of people don't do that. They get these emails in their inbox, and then they read them, and then they click the link or whatever, but they never reply to them. And I know, as an entrepreneur who has a list and a weekly newsletter, that when I get a reply,
love the reply.
I love it. It is so exciting.
If someone replies to one of my lessons, I'm like,
I totally love it. So I did that once with this really incredible woman. Her name is Carol Cox, and she runs a company called Speaking Your Brand. And I replied to her email, and she invited me onto her podcast. And I got huge visibility. So that's one thing that you can do, is engage with the people whose lists you're on. Another thing you can do is find 3 podcasts that you absolutely love, that you get the most value from, and listen to them every week and engage with them. So, comment on them, say why you love them, and I guarantee you will get invited to speak on those podcasts.
Guys, one of those better be this.
Yeah. So seriously, because I know people, but seriously, it's true, because I know people who get pitched for their podcast. They don't even read the pitches, but the people who are listening to those podcasts every single week and commenting and giving value in response, those are the people that get invited onto the podcast.
100%.
And that's how you grow visibility in your business. And the third thing is to create content that gives value. Like, give away your knowledge for free all the time. And I promise you, when people go, hey, I need a copywriter for my website, they'll go, you know what? Ashleigh gives so much value. She knows exactly what she's talking about. She's totally brilliant. She knows her stuff. I'm going to ask her to write my website. Or marketing, whatever. If you're a marketing expert, write about the rules of marketing every single week. Give value in your newsletters, your emails, your blogs, your social posts. And I promise you establish yourself as an expert, and people go, you become top of mind. And then of course sell if you have a product or a service, but selling like 20% of the time and value 80% of the time.
It's all about awareness and generating interest,
absolutely,
your brand at the end of the day. Awesome. Ashleigh, it was awesome having you on board. I think you gave so much knowledge here, and so much help to everyone. So thank you so much, and I look forward to having you on again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful, and I hope it's been helpful. Thank you.
Definitely. I think that's added a lot of value to people. And I think, copywriting is such an important thing that is not talked about enough, in the industry. And people try and write their own stuff, or they copy paste from, different other things. And and that's why they're struggling, is get the right copy, get the right creative in place. And I promise you've got 80% of the sales already done. You could have the worst kind of product, but if you've got a kick-ass headline or something, or you've got and you've got great copy and a great image, I promise you everyone's going to buy that crap. It doesn't matter that it was
it's true. It's true, man.
You're going to buy it. Why? Because it was freaking good and it sounded good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's it. So Ashleigh, this year, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
There's no more questions. Thank you very much for watching. The replay will be up a little later. Thanks, Ashleigh. Keep well.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.